Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about crisis management and what to do and how to do if crisis eventually strikes. What are the decisions that we need to go around it? That will define how do we manage the crisis. That is what we'll be talking in today's video. So essentially, if you look into it, we are talking about preparation of the crises. That's before the event. If we can do it much better, the event can be postponed or probably deferred for indefinite times. In case if you are not able to postpone, probably how can we do around it is how to prevent that prevent mass casualties or mitigate those crises. Perhaps that can only be done through planning, proper planning, and this is what happens with preparation. That is all about planning. But once you have planned and exactly the event occurs, is we come back to execution. First is what you are going to respond. The moment you respond, you might be able to mitigate the crisis as of that. And then probably let's come back to the normalcy factor that comes around it. And that is what been done over a recovery or is recovery period, the resolution. Now, this is what the policies and the laws is all about it. This is the trials that we need to go about crisis management, preparation, response, recovery, preparation, response, recovery, and that is it goes around it. Now, what about the attribute, approach, attitude? What are the attributes? If you look out here, we have this first and foremost is the awareness. We build from preparation, response, recovery. We start with awareness. Preparation is all about the planning purpose is all about awareness. Once we make aware of it, we start the anticipation after due diligence of analysis. So we need to understand the triage of awareness, anticipate, and analysis all about it. Now, based on your analysis, what you have to do is your judgment. Judgment is a part of your responses. Remember, about anticipation is your execution of your recovery, the resources that you're going to go around it. But what are we interested into it? The recovery, are we interested in the organization? No, we are interested in decision making, perhaps. This is what we should be looking forward to it. So as on the decision making that comes around here, the planning process is all about awareness, analysis, and anticipation. As I've just told you in the previous slide, it's all about planning. During the planning processes, either we need to prevent that crisis or we need to prepare to mitigate that crisis. Focus is preparing to focus the decision making. Preparation is to build that framework of authority, the minimal thing that comes around here. Establish a link between the decision making centers and the critical information groups that comes around here. Make rules, practice time and again. Build a framework of authority, consciousness, definition of crisis management process altogether, framework of what exactly is crisis management, how do we go around it, who is responsible for what kind of resources, what are the steps that needs to be taken. A clear line of authority, duties preferably in writing should be circulated and ensure that everybody is aware of it. Then the decision making centers build the systems of effective cooperation, create networks, develop readiness for mobilizations in a common cause, establish critical information group, use existing mechanism, develop varieties of internal and external sources, provide for detached, objective and analysis as on when on basis as the case might be. So you have done your decision making things. Now you have put in who is responsible, what are the processes. These are the things that needs to be pointed. These are the things that needs to be connected. All the dots needs to be connected. There has to be a policy in place. There has to be an awareness among the participant. There need to be a transparency in the decision making. Everything should have a standard operating procedures, perhaps. So practice is all about your hypothetical situation of the crisis that is yet to happen. Is make it sure that hypothetical situation, how do you react into it. Let us exercise, let us do a game scenario, let us plan and organize the ad hoc scenarios. Mitigation is the structural government changes, laws and policies, inform public works as on when on basis. Prevention, anticipate potential crisis situation, maintain full awareness of the potential crisis environment, objectively analyze information on development that could lead to crises, act remedially in a pre-crisis situation. So we need to understand the prevention. So anticipate potential crisis situation, maintain a full awareness of potential crisis, objectively analyze information on development that could lead to crises, act remedially in a pre-crisis situation. Let us understand the response process. Remember, we had the planning process, we had the execution process. In the planning process was preparedness. In the response, in the execution process was the responses and reforming, the regrowth, the rebuilding. So let us focus on the response situation. But this is where you need to understand. You have to have a organization that needs to be completely fit in with what exactly is understood, what are the resources, how do you mitigate certain situation, and there is to be sound judgment. Based on it, we'll come with a decision making process. This is what we are looking about, a rapid, effective decision making process. The response situation, positioning, and timing is very important to mitigate any kind of crisis management or disaster management as soon as possible. Remember, the immediacy of the responses will only shorten the crisis situation or crisis duration. So grasp the situation, survive the initial shock, avoid being discredited, activate network and critical information group, formulate a position, critic, develop an action plan, mobilize decision makers as on when on basis what needs to be done. Grasp the situation, examine available fact, develop an early analysis of what is happening and what are the best available options for to you. Define the nature of the problem, evaluate responses, resources available, and direct those resources to that event so that the crisis can be averted or probably survived. So survive initial shock is to understand what is the crisis, what is the disaster about it. Warning system are vulnerable, definitely yes, it is a mechanical process that you may depend or that might fail. Speed of the events can hinder comprehension. The challenge can be massive and earth shattering, mind shattering. Individual and organization might be completely stressed, wafer trained. The crisis might break totally unfamiliar situation. Probably you've not even fathomed or imagined what exactly you were actually going through. The system might revert to the past practices of ignorance, not able to understand. There's a freezing in the responses. The current system might require modification. Avoid being discredited. Avoid making hasty decisions or drawing premature conclusions. Confusing early dealings with the media, over and understating crisis seriousness to public and or to the government as on when on basis. Activate networks and critical information flow. Sound appropriate warning. Construct a tailored teams. Separate crisis management team from other activities. Work out on a communication plan. Set a logbook. Understand what has been done because this will help you to analyze post event. Form a critical information groups. Even the logbook might help you to understand what went right, what was wrong, and this will help you to understand the further in future if certain crises happen, how do will you react, and what are the best possible scenarios to mitigate those kind of crises, similar kind of crisis. So formulate that problem, formulate your position, define everything crystal clear, ensure that every participant is aware about the problem and take feedback to get a proper understanding of the problems, of the timelines, the fundamental focus. Based on it only, you are going to develop an action plan, devise the strategy for responsive, refine and re-refine, continue this process in the organization. This fine tuning is very important. Examine the goals and ensure that you reach the goals in a shortest possible time because that is only going to curtail the crisis toward the shortened span. The shorter the crisis, the less impact it is going to have. Mobilize decision makers, keep them informed, keep them in the process, in the loop, encourage appropriate participation, ensure the availability as on when on basis, be responsive to their needs every time there is a requirement because you need to understand the decision makers would be having all sort of feedback information coming in. They will have a clear understanding of the big picture, so be responsive to the needs. You might not be fully aware of what exactly is happening, so let them run the situation. Then comes the last part of recovery. So we have the planning, the preparedness, then we have the execution of first part was response, the third part is the recovery part. This is all about command, which is command and control. The resources which are proper to be taken around it, and execution is actually which helps you to understand that whether you have done a good thing in averting a dire crisis or managing a crisis. So focus is on the decision maker. Recovery is managing the end, post the event, post the crisis. How do you handle the aftermath? That is more important. Resolution is to manage that system to ensure that this system becomes much more effective, much more streamlined. Orchestrate public awareness, media, rumors, properly use consulting expert. Orchestrate public awareness, ensure that everybody is aware of what exactly is happening. Remember the pandemic of COVID-19 that spread. Half of the time, the people discredited that fact that this pandemic can engulf the whole of the world. But that did happen. This is what needs to be understood. You need to sensitize the people. You need to educate the public. Name a spokesperson. Be the first to supply information before any rumors creep in. Tell the truth and make no assumptions. Make no comments. Non-media, be sure about your organization. Be properly informed. Ignore victims at your own peril because this might backfire. So please do not ignore any victims. Rumors, ignore if unimportant. If seriously, deny or counterattack as a system. Then we have how to manage the system. Since this is where we are talking about response and recovery, right? This separate the crisis management from daily activities. Control internal communication within your organization. You should be ensuring that there's a complete trust and faith among all your co-workers, staffs, and stakeholders. Adjust crisis teams to meet the event. Organize that and use expert wisely. This is only done if you have adequate decision making authorities thereby. Experts always recommended to have a single source network. Probably it can be network in case if there are specialties that needs to be taken care of it, but then separate from decision making. Monitors the public comment, monitor the social media, monitor what is the sentiment which is going running through the community. Be realistic about their ability to contribute to early decision making process. Be realistic, do not get swayed by emotions altogether. Aftermath is where you need to dismantle gently by not usurping anybody's feelings or perhaps understanding. So dismantle gently, carefully come back to normalcy. Take strong initiative to prevent recurrences, even rumor perhaps restore public confidence, and that is most important. And this can only be done with the repeated reassurances then and there, by being proactive, by ensuring that whatever you have stated, you are actually building or walking through it, ensuring whatever has been stated has been executed. That is how you will restore the public confidence. We have spoken the whole gamut of this particular chart, the crisis management process, right from preparations, which is all about anticipation, awareness, and analysis. Then we spoke about the responses, which is all about decision making and organization. Then we have the recovery. The last part was all about execution, resources, and command control center. With this, I come to an end of this video. Hope you have understood the crisis management situation in a much better fashion, in a concise fashion. Thank you for watching this video till the end.